Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we're looking at the managerial situation at Manchester United. Is it going to be Michael Carrick or is it going to be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? It looks like one has just headed ahead of the other in the race to become the next Manchester United manager. Also as well, we'll have all the fallout from yesterday's defeat here at home to Brighton. We're out of the FA Cup. We're having a 40-game season for the first time in over 100 years. Can't even get my words out. I'm that annoyed with what is going on at Manchester United. Plus, what's going on with Bruno Fernandes's social media. We'll be getting into all that, and you lot need to check out the merch. There's a link in the description. Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and it's a little bit windy, so you might need your coats. Don't even need your parkers. Loads of stories to get into, most of them focusing on the next manager, the next Manchester United manager. Obviously, it seems like Michael Carrick has emerged as, do we want to say the favourite? Is it joint favourite? Is he the slight favourite when it comes to between him and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? It certainly looks as though it is between the two former Manchester United players in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick to take over from Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher, of course, managed the last 2 games as an interim manager. Wasn't great. We got the draw at Burnley, which many people looked at as a better performance than we'd seen in previous weeks under Ruben Amorim. Lots of chances created, probably should have won the game. However, yesterday's game against Brighton was a disaster. We're at the FA Cup, at the first hurdle. It's the first time, I think, since 1914-1915 season that United will play just 40 games in a season out of both cups at the first hurdle. An absolute disgrace for Manchester United and just so deflating as a fan. You like to look forward to cup competitions. You like to have the prospect or the potential trophy at the end of a season, a Wembley trip or a final trip or whatever, or, you know, just something to look forward to from the day-to-day grind of the Premier League. And now we haven't got anything to look forward to other than the Premier League and hopefully Manchester United trying to get Champions League places. That was what Darren Fletcher was talking about last season. He was talking about yesterday after the game, I should say. He was saying that the season isn't over, that Manchester United should be going for those Champions League places, and that's what we need to focus on. And he's right. We do need to focus on that. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be under him. Doesn't look like Darren Fletcher's going to be around for much longer as Manchester United manager. I expect him to go back to the academy and managing there. But whoever comes in, whether that's Ole, whether that's Michael Carrick, the focus now has to be to improve our league form, get into those Champions League spots, whether that's 5th or that is 4th. We don't know whether 5th is going to be good enough to get you into the Champions League next season from the Premier League, but we'll see. Either way, Manchester United should be focused on that, and hopefully we can try and take some advantage. I don't want to be MUFC here and just, you know, put a positive spin on what has been a disastrous season so far for Manchester United. The manager's gone. We're out of both cups, and in a league where most teams, even teams around the top, are underperforming, we haven't really kicked on. We've had so many bad results. Draws left, right and centre here at Old Trafford, and even losses. And plus, away from home, not much better, to be honest with you. There's no point in sugarcoating it. Manchester United should be doing a lot better than we are. However, we are still in with a chance of getting into those Champions League spots. We've got Ahmad and Mbumo to come back from the AFCON. I think Nuzir Mazraoui is going to take a little bit longer now. The bad news, if you want, well, it is bad news, is we've got Manchester City on the horizon. We've got the Manchester Derby in the weekend. However, once you get past that, and I think you've got Arsenal away isn't too far away either, you can look at it and you go, okay, we have only got 1 game a week. Maybe when we're sort of going up against teams that have Champions League knockout games that are in the cups as well, that can be an advantage. It hasn't been an advantage so far, but I've said this many times. I think early on in the season it isn't much of an advantage, especially when you've got teams that are sort of not really focusing on the cup competitions and able to play a second string. When they get to the last stages, then you see clubs and teams having to make those decisions where maybe even in the Premier League they're playing weekend teams, maybe they're sort of struggling with injuries and to balance their squad, and that could be the period towards the sort of back end of the season where we're in now that Manchester United start to take advantage of that and use that to help get us into those Champions League spots. Yes, I am grasping a little bit at straws, but United need to take some positives or make this season into a positive, because so far I can't really see any positives. Now, what should have been a positive yesterday was Shea Lacey, and he was for a little spell because he came on, he did very well, he was the right sort of thorn in Brighton's side, he got the crowd going, he was running at defenders, he was getting crosses in, he was doing everything he's done for the academy and everything he was brought on the pitch to do. However, it ends in a bit of a disaster for the lad. He gets 2 yellows and a red card. Now, Darren Fletcher was unhappy about the first yellow card. He said he didn't think it was a yellow card, and I agree with him. The second yellow, though, was a yellow card. And Shea Lacey knows he's on a yellow. He knows he shouldn't have done it, and he's done a sort of social media post to apologise for it. Now, look, I'm not too keen on social media apologies. They do me head in a bit, but I get it as an 18-year-old lad. He's obviously feeling it. Feels like he's let everyone down. it was a bit daft, but we shouldn't be relying on Shea Lacey to get us over the line at home to Brighton. We shouldn't, and I'm not blaming the lad for the defeat yesterday. That game should have been won before he was even needed. He shouldn't have been needed, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of other players that need to take a long, hard look at themselves after yesterday's performance, because it wasn't good enough. And it hasn't been good enough for some time yet, long before Shea Lacey ever got near the first team as well. So I'm not blaming Shea Lacey. I think there's a few other players, and you'll know they are. And if you don't, you can get involved in the comments and discuss it amongst yourselves, who aren't playing well enough for Manchester United and haven't been playing well enough for far too long. You can go back even to the Eric Ten Hag days, the Ruben Amorim days, and now the Darren Fletcher days. There's too many players who are conning a living at Manchester United. It ain't good enough. And whoever comes in, whether that's Ole or Michael Carrick, they need to fix up. They need to get them to fix up, because I'm just fed up of standing here or standing outside a stadium or in the studio sort of discussing the same things over and over again about how this squad is better than it's actually achieving, how we should be doing what some of our rivals are doing, how the season's over at Christmas. It's just getting boring. I'm sick of it, and it needs to be sorted. And there's players there that are on big money. They're international players. The players that are capable of putting in performances, and we need to see more from them. We really do. So I'm not going to dig out an 18-year-old. I want to see more from some of these first teamers who are basically getting paid for just underperforming on an almost regular basis. That's why Manchester United aren't in the top four. That's why we're out of both cup competitions. That's why we aren't even in the Europe this season. It's not because of Shea Lacey. It's because of all the others. Anyway, talking to social media, Bruno Fernandes's social media account has been hacked. I'm sure you're all aware of this. I'm sure you've all seen it. Manchester United let everyone know. Some of the tweets coming from Bruno Fernandes's account were funny. Some of them were just outrageous, to be honest with you. I don't know by the time you've watched this if it has been sorted, but it's just Manchester United, innit? Like the meme says, one normal day of Manchester United. That's all I ask for. Will never happen. Honestly, you lose track, don't you, of just what goes on at this football club, whether it's on social media, whether it's on the pitch, whatever it is. It just seems to be a shambles. So we'll wait and see what happens with the managerial situation. This time last week, I was stood here saying Ruben Amorim was set to have some talks with the hierarchy, and I expected him to keep his job, at least for the foreseeable future. We got to the studio and found out he'd been sacked. There's a strong possibility this doesn't go anywhere, that Ruben Amorim doesn't leave, that he stays at least till the end of the season, and that this is sort of sorted. There's talks that there's reports they're going to have some sort of sit down, Wilcox and Amorim and maybe Barada as well, and have a conversation and sort of clear the air, and maybe it all gets sorted and we can just move forward at least to the end of the season. So by the time you're watching this, Michael Carrick or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might have been announced. In fact, you might not even end up seeing this, because one of them might have been announced before we've even posted it. But we'll see anyway. At the minute, Fabrizio Romano was indicating that he was edging his bets a little bit, but it does seem like one or two of them say Michael Carrick has just nudged ahead of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the sort of the race to become Manchester United manager. But there's nothing set in stone yet, and that could change. We don't know. It could be a bit of a change there when actually Ole ends up being the favourite. But as it stands right now, as I'm stood here chatting to you lot, it seems that Michael Carrick is the most likely person to be the next Manchester United manager till the end of the season. But this is Manchester United. Who knows? Knowing outlook, we'll probably bring back Ralph Ragnick. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Go and check out the merchandise as well. We've got loads of merch. There's a link in the description. Going to be back later on with the Paddock podcast. And of course, if there are any announcements when it comes to the managerial situation at Manchester United, we will go live with breaking news. So make sure you are subscribing to the channel. I'm Jay Motti. This has been the Paper Talk outside a pretty cold Old Trafford. You might need your Parkers. Thanks for watching.